Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for our Careers webinar on Thriving in the Dynamic World of Tech. I am Shireen from Nanyang Business School's Graduate Studies Office. The technology sector has evolved quite a fair bit in the last decade to become one of the most coveted sectors to work in. And despite the great resignation, the tech sector continues to thrive, and some countries in Asia have reported that they have ramped up hiring in this sector. So with me today, I have a distinguished panel of industry veterans who will share how the sector has evolved in the last decade, what they think are the trends that will shape the sector in the coming years, and how professionals can remain relevant in this sector. This session will be moderated by Associate Professor Ivy Kwan. Ivy is an Associate Professor of Organizational Behavior at Nanyang Business School, and she also plays a leadership role as the Assistant Dean of Graduate Career Services. Ivy is also a former associate partner with McKinsey, with over 10 years of experience working with boards and C-suite executives, building up new businesses, turning around business models, and driving large-scale transformation programs. Prior to McKinsey, she spent 10 years in the financial services sector. Joining Ivy, we also have Ronnie Tan, Derek Wong, and Leo Tan. Ronnie is Head of People and Business Partner at Grab. Since joining Grab in 2016, Ronnie has built up multiple teams from scratch and drove the hyper-growth of the company through expanding the team significantly, launching new businesses, as well as constantly developing the culture at Grab. He comes with more than 25 years of experience that spans across software engineering, consulting, and human resources. The next guest is Derek Wong. Derek is the Director and Head of Real Estate and Workplace JPAC at Twitter. In this role, he develops strategies and programs that enable employee experience and business growth. Prior to Twitter, Derek was in Google, heading the Southeast Asia portfolio and led in the conception, development, and operationalizing of the Google APAC headquarters in Singapore. He also served a stint at Changi Airport, where he oversaw the management of the airport assets and elevating of user experience. Finally, we're also thrilled to have Leo Tan join us today. Leo is currently an operations deal manager based out of Microsoft Asia Pacific Operations Center here in Singapore. Prior to joining Microsoft, he worked in several MNC's sales and business development roles, covering several countries in Asia Pacific. Leo is especially passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and he is currently serving as one of the pillar leads for Microsoft APAC's D&I Allyship team. So with that, I'll pass the time over to Ivy, who will start the session now.
Thank you, Shireen, and welcome, gentlemen. One thing I also wanted to do is to welcome you back to NTU, all of you being NTU alumni, Leo and Derek from our MBA program and NTU, as well as Ronnie, who graduated probably about the same time as me, so I'm not going to date myself or date him. Okay, so very, very happy to have you join us in this session today, and very, very happy to see you guys pursuing such great careers within the tech sector and sharing the views on the industry with our audience here. And probably I'm repeating what Shireen is saying. There's so many things that's happening in the industry today and outside the industry, from digitalization to sustainability to the metaverse, you name it, right? And all of these trends have shaped the global economy in some shape or fashion, good or bad, right? The good thing is the tech sector appears to be one of the winners in this very, very fast changing world. So actually, I would just like to share, like you guys to share a little bit from your personal experience. Maybe I can start with Derek. How have these various trends affected you personally and the work you do?
Thank you, Ivy. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here to share my experience. So yes, I think we are living in a world full of disruptive forces, right? So the various trends that have impacted a lot of companies have also impacted us at personal level. And it had kind of shaped the way we think about and plan, not only for the short term and long term. And the skill sets I developed are similar to the skill set necessary at my workplace in the wake of all these trends. So let me elaborate. I think the tech sector is typically resilient in the wake of these trends, namely due to two factors. Number one, the ability to handle ambiguity, and number two, a positive mindset. For the first part, it's actually quite interesting. It is because of the way we work, the way the industry is. The tech industry evolves very rapidly. Our products need to be changed quickly to meet fast evolving consumer needs. And not only that, we need to scale quickly to reap economies of scale and to realize opportunity. So moving fast in an ambiguous environment is not unfamiliar. So the ability to plan up to 70, 80% and execute on 20% of uncertainty is something that allows us to do well. And it is also a good skill set because you tend to move in faster, be able to execute while other companies are still on the drawing board. So that helps a little bit. It's especially the case in my company where at the start, where a lot of people are still looking for certainty to think about whether they should let go of real estate or not. Over here, we try not to wait for total clarity because it's not going to come and try to have decision making around those. The second point is about a positive mindset. I have a number of professional anecdotes, but I'll share one personal one, which is my favorite. So when the COVID first started, I was in a few messaging groups with my Google colleagues. Of course, we talk about the worrying stuff. Or where do we get face masks? Where do we get sanitizers? Where do we get access to certain services and supplies? But very quickly, the groups pivot into talking about what are the opportunities from this disruption. They're talking about starting business, investing. So it's not making light of the situation, but it's amazing how they see the whole situation and beyond the pandemic. So I think as a result, these are the skill sets we adopt at work and also what I adopt as a soft skill personally to be able to handle whatever trends, hopefully down the road. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you, Derek, for sharing it. And I'm very happy to see that you are developing so nicely and being able to adapt in a very, very ambiguous environment. I personally experience it here within the university as well, right? Things are happening much faster than I can possibly read enough in the news. So I really admire the fact that you guys are able to adapt very quickly in the tech sector. Let me turn to Leo. Leo, perhaps to add on to Derek's point, maybe you can share a little bit more at the industry level, what kind of trends you're seeing that have emerged?
Yeah, I think thanks, Ivy, and once again, thank you very much for having me back. It's a very nice homecoming feeling always. So I'm really excited to be on the panel today, beside fellow distinguished guests to share on this topic as well with the audience. So I think there are multiple trends that are going on right now, and digitalization. And there are several buzzwords going around, for example, metaverse and so on. And so it's not probably not possible for us to cover all of the topics. But what I would say is the one thing that I really would like to cover on today, and which is probably very close to all of our hearts, is actually the new world of hybrid work, or what we at Microsoft call the new world of hybrid work, right? And this is really a result of the changing expectations, right, of when, where, and how we work. So right now, employees like ourselves, right, we really want, or a lot of employees around the world are starting to want to exercise that flexibility, right, in when, where, and how they work. And what this actually does, it actually incites a structural change in the way people work, the way we interact, going forward into the new world, not just right now, right? But it's also in the post-COVID environment. How is this going to be changing? Because we know for a fact that we are not going to go back, right? So that's really a key trend as a company, internally, not just internally what we're seeing right now, but also figuring out how is this going to be impacting the industry and the world as a whole. Now, as a company, what we are asking ourselves also is, do we have that digital fabric that enables that hybrid work environment? And I think this all the way up at the senior leadership level, it is also being considered. And it's one of the things that is guiding how we are pushing our product out, how we are engaging with our customers as well as our partners, right? Now, just to be fair, just to be very clear, we are very, very aware of the fact there is no substitute for physical co-presence, right? But what is actually happening right now is that we really do have to understand that there is this expanding continuum of options that are being made available to people, right? From simple VoIPs, from simple emails to VoIPs, right? And then now we're talking about digital avatars and probably, holograms going forward as well. Who knows, right? So there's more options and flexibility for human connections going forward. The second part of your question is really asking about what is happening within the company to help employees get excited about these opportunities, right? And so, there are many, many things that are going on, and it's not just like a cookie cutter approach, I would say. But what really helps, at least from my own personal experience being in Microsoft, is that there is a very clear and grounded strategy, right? As well as being augmented by a very constant and very consistent messaging to all employees on how our products and services are really being used, right, to serve the company's mission. And this is probably repeated to the point of ad nauseum, right, which is the fact that our company's mission is really to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. So I think having that very clear and very consistent messaging is truly one of the key points, on top of various others as well, that really helps to keep all of us in the company grounded in what we are doing. And all this, I have to also emphasize that it is really underpinned by the culture of the growth mindset that Derek has actually mentioned earlier as well. Yep.
Thank you so much, Leo, for sharing. And I think the topic of hybrid work is especially critical, in the midst of this worldwide trend in the Great Resignation, right? It's very interesting that you actually brought up how hybrid world will look like, right? I think, and I actually picked this up when I was teaching my undergrads, 18, 19-year-olds, and when they think of virtual, they don't think of Zoom, they don't think of Teams, they're thinking of avatars, holograms, and so on and so forth. So I think that these trends are coming to hit us, right? And the challenge actually, at least for folks like me, whom these Gen Zs refer to as boomers, is this whole mindset shift, right? How do you bring this whole generation of folks who are so used to going to the physical office and finally gotten used to Zoom to now go into the metaverse and holograms and whatnot? So I'm very happy that Microsoft is doing a lot in terms of helping its employees along. Let me shift to Ronnie. Ronnie, being the head of people, right? You obviously see a lot of people trends, right? HR trends. Maybe can you share a little bit about what has changed in the last 2 years from an HR perspective within the tech sector?
Sure, Ivy. I think one word will come to mind when we think about the last 2 years, COVID. Now, as much as COVID has been affecting a lot of our life personally and professionally, I must say that it has also brought along opportunity. I think one key opportunity that we have seen in the last 2 years is that certainly digitalization has accelerated. Now, as a result, there is an increase in career opportunities relating to digitalization, or what we know as tech. So I think particularly I would like to expound on what are the pivotal shifts as a result of this acceleration. Now, there is one about a shift in where we work. That's where Derek and Leo also alluded to, where we are now starting to do more of hybrid working. So it's about how we work. Okay, so let me expound on what this new trend has on us in terms of recruitment and its implications for many of the audience here that are looking into embarking on the studies and what's next for them post-graduation. Now, the two trends. First of all, I would say that, so Ivy says, the Great Resignation. That is true. So employee turnover will continue to increase as the hybrid and remote work becomes the norm for knowledge worker. And as a HR professional, I don't see that going away anytime soon, to be very honest. So having said that, because there is a heightened of employee attrition and resignation, the implications for many of the people who are looking into joining the tech sector is that there is now an increased career opportunity. which is unseen of in the last 2 years when COVID started. So as a result, vacancies are created because of people who left their posts and decided to either go back home or to be closer to the families, or people can take up job remotely. So this is where there are career opportunities, which comes good of that. But you have to be open that the opportunity may not be all physical. It could be a mix of physical and remote working, which again means hybrid. So in other words, if I were to be specific, you could actually potentially get a job in US, but based in Singapore, if that works for you in terms of time zone. Now, the second trend I must share is that, now particularly for the audience here, I know that a lot are looking at the MBA programs to embark on the managerial opportunities or a leadership opportunity. So this is a trend that is also that is happening now. Managerial tasks will be automated away. And as such, it creates space for managers to build more human relationship with their employee. So in other words, time taken away from transactional tasks, from tasks that managers can be automated with, to allow them to focus a lot more time and quality time to build human relationship with the employee. Now, the implication is that managers and employee relationship has become more important than ever, especially for hybrid and remote employee. So managers are today viewed as their primary connections through which they experience their employer. So it's not so much about the company first, now it's about the manager relationship, number one, then comes the company relationship. So to advance in our career, especially during this time, for many of us who are looking into embarking on managerial or leadership opportunity, soft skills are becoming table stakes. Soft skills such as relationship building, soft skills such as working across culture is now becoming table stakes, alongside with the need to acquire cutting-edge business and functional skills. Thanks, that's my view.
Am I glad I'm not looking for a job now? Yeah, with the changing landscape and the requirements in terms of skill sets, it's just it's scary. I'm glad I'm not looking for a job. But jokes aside, it's really inspiring to hear from all three of you in terms of what you guys are doing personally, as well as at the organizational level, to see different organizations having these initiatives as helping your employees, upskill and acquire those necessary mindset shifts, right? And indeed, here at NTU, I would say technology is part of our DNA, and here at the business school, embedded within the technology university is the intersection of technology and some of these soft skills that Ronnie had talked about, and also Derek earlier, that hopefully, our candidates or our students are going to be attractive candidates for you guys as you're looking to hire. So maybe talking about what NBS helps in terms of our students being prepared for the tech sector. Leo, being a very, very recent alum and picking up from what Ronnie has just said, perhaps you can share with us a little bit about how NBS has helped you along in that process to get you ready, whether it's on the technical side or any of the soft skills that Ronnie has mentioned.
Right. So I think in terms of the school helping out on that journey, I think one of the experience. So first of all, I would say that within the program, the school actually offers a lot of opportunities for us to work in projects and assignments together, right? And also the way that the cohort is being built in such a way that you actually have good exposure to people from different personal as well as professional background. And that helps, right? It's not just about the diversity of the nationality, but it's also the diversity of experience that you have in the cohort. And how that actually helps is that when you work on projects together, you have that different point of view or different points of view from different perspectives and people with different backgrounds that really helps to, I would say, open up your blind spots, or maybe just to give you a fresh perspective on a particular issue or a problem. So that is one of the things that I think I thoroughly enjoyed during my time in the program. The other thing is also having that opportunity to be involved, right, in competitions as well. So it's not just within the school, but also having that access to represent the school in competitions. Like, for example, I had the wonderful honor of going to Montreal, right, to represent the school for a competition, for a business case competition. And there are many others that my other classmates were able to attend and to represent the school in as well. And so when you have that opportunity to represent the school, you're not only confining yourself to what is within that cohort of maybe less than 100 people, right? Where you have that very dense level of interaction and the daily communication going on, but you also go out and you get to compare, like, oh, okay, this is what people are being, people from the other schools are also being trained in, and it really expands your horizons as a whole. So I guess from what I'm trying to say is that both internal opportunities as well as external opportunities are there available should the student choose to leverage on them. Now, at the same time, having said that, there are also resources. For example, I think one that you're very familiar with, which is the GSDDO. So there are also career coaching sessions that are available should students wish to leverage on them, and also the internal portals that have a lot of opportunities that are available for students to apply to should it meet their career goals.
Yeah, I'm always very impressed when I speak to my MBAs, right? I don't know how they manage to squeeze so many things within 24 hours. I would probably not be able to sleep. So it's amazing. I mean, beyond the classroom, you're going for competition, then you're looking for a job, and then you need to go for your parties as well, right? So yeah, I think the whole MBA journey is quite transformational. Maybe I move to Ronnie, from the employer's perspective. Is this what you see? And perhaps give some advice to some of our audience, some of the people in this audience who are thinking of joining the tech sector and also considering an MBA program, right? Well, what advice would you give them, particularly those who don't have a tech background? Yeah.
All right, Prof. Ivy, absolutely great questions. Every student that I get to meet up with in the last 4 years of the journey with Nanyang asked the similar great question, which is, in this case, right, the question is about, hey, Ronnie, what can I do to give myself the best chance of joining the tech sector, especially so if I don't have a tech background? Now, my response will be as such. So first of all, the context is that tech sectors has a lot of opportunities. As such, great opportunity attracted bigger competitions. So which means that it's going to be a highly intense competitive landscape when it comes to landing a job in the tech sectors. So that's good news, because you wouldn't see people wanting to join a sunsetting landscape. They wanted to join an up and coming and rising sector, in this case tech. So in this case, right, I would say that there are two things that you can work on. One is your core. I explain about that, what's core later. And two is about added advantage. So first about the core. Now, the core is about you, i.e., how do you differentiate yourself as the best fit talent for the jobs and the companies? There is also in the context that I've seen the students that I've been coaching is that they all came with great achievement. So none of them are short of in terms of achievements, in terms of experience. But this is where we have to ask ourselves, right, how can we differentiate ourselves among all of the great talents that are competing for the same job? So this is where I say work on the core is very important to differentiate yourself. And how do you work on your core? Now, this is about, there is a process to go about increasing your self-awareness, i.e., how do you play to your strength as an individual, as a person, as a professional, None of us are perfect. We have gaps. How do you work on your gaps or complement your gaps? How do you be able to seek your inner value, your preference, to look for a job that will inspire you, will engage you, so that you can perform your utmost best job of your life? So this is where I must be glad to say that Nanyang is a school that not just give a lot of rigors in terms of content and knowledge in the course, but likewise focus on putting together a pool of very experienced career coaches like myself. I'm just one of them, that ensure that we look after the interests of the students, to ensure that not just that they will be able to heighten their chance of landing a job post-graduation, but also during that process, be able to go through the transformations of working on a core to raise their self-awareness. Because this is something that will go along with you for a long, long time in your personal growth and professional growth. So let's talk about the core, that's one. The second thing that I felt that will be important to look at is to work on your added advantage. So i.e., the added advantage I would define in the tech space as skills or knowledge or content that the job or the company specifically looking for during that season. A lot of us may know that during this time, there's a lot of demand on data analytics, or there are demands on working the agile methodology way of doing things, design thinking, or crypto that presented new business model opportunity. So this is where I would say that Nanyang is also a very progressive school that look into ensuring that they provide relevance and progressive content, right? So I'm pretty confident, excited that the students that I've coached that are with Nanyang, they are going through tons of qualities learnings from Nanyang. And if they can squeeze out some free time, I will encourage them strongly to also, among all their busy assignments, the project and networking and yeah, you know what I'm going, is to also look into quality online courses that can get you the added advantage, so that you not just equip yourself with the rigorous content and knowledge from the Nanyang's course, to work on your core, to raise your self-awareness, to differentiate yourself, and also give yourself the added advantage that the skills and the content that you think will give you the added advantage towards the job or the company that you're interested in. So that is my view. Thanks, Prof. Ivy, for asking the questions.
No, super helpful, right? And I think a lot of times we try to be somebody else as opposed to really looking at ourselves and finding that strength. And actually first knowing your strengths and then acknowledging it and then leveraging on it to take you places, right? And a lot of times we just kind of try to be someone else, and as a result we should fail to differentiate ourselves. No, thank you so much for that. And I really like the fact that we should always be in this continuous learning mindset, right? And not just depend on one source of knowledge, which is NBS, for example, right? Thank you for sharing that. So Derek, you were very successful in making a career pivot from well, now I will say old economy kind of industry into tech, right? With Google, with Twitter. Tell us, what are some of the tips you can share with our audience here?
Thank you, Prof, for the question. So I echo what Ronnie said. I think it is common when you first started at work, you tend to have people that you admire. It could be your seniors, they could be your managers, and you try to emulate them. So the downside is you don't really have that kind of strength. You need to find out what you're really good at. So do take the time to do that. In my case, I took a variety of roles. I took many years moving from business development to IT to sales before I landed in my Changi Airport portfolio, where I helped to create user experience through curating the space. So for me, that was my eureka moment. I felt like, oh, this is exactly what I can do, what I like to do, and which I think I can do well. And I got hooked from there. So I think the key is to develop a niche where you can have the competitive advantage. Like what the serial entrepreneur Naval Ravikant once said, that once you manage that, it's as good as this piece of work is play to you, but work to the others. So you need to find that kind of rhythm, that kind of cadence where you know you are smashing targets, you're on top of the world, you're leaving the rest behind. And then I think you will have your niche. Then the next thing is really to stay abreast of the companies or the industry you want to join. They could be tech companies or it could be something else. So their job listing is a good way to start. Understand usually what they're looking for, understand what they ask for in JD, attend talks, and meet with people from there. Then from there on, within your current portfolio, look for whether there's any way to pitch. If not, it may even influence the kind of task you want to take up your current company so that you move closer into bridging any gaps. But what I also want to call out is it is very common for us to look at the glass half empty, worry about gaps in our background. So don't worry, especially if you think that it's because you have a different background, there's gaps. Tech company in general are very good in diversity and inclusion, very, very welcoming to people of different colors, women leaders. So don't let that hold you back. Try. Just try. You'll probably get good experience even if you fail through the process, and that will help to refine what you want to find down the road as well. Thank you, Ivy.
I really like hearing what you've just said, Derek, in terms of, just keep trying different things until you find the thing, then wow, that's, Eureka moment, and that's your sweet spot, and then you take it from there, right? And that takes a lot of also courage as well, switching industry, function. So applaud you for that. And also thank you for telling our audience something that I've been preaching about, which is, know what companies are looking for, and then tailor your strengths and capabilities towards what they're looking for. A lot of times as we rush to look for a job, we send the same resume, the same cover letter, and then we fall short of what the companies are looking for. So thanks for sharing that tip with our students. Obviously, jobs in the tech market is on everybody's top of mind, and business school, investing into a business school education a lot of times could be a solution, and bridging that gap in terms of whether it's the networks or the connections or the knowledge between what you have and what the tech industry is looking for. So a lot of times when it comes to choosing business school, it may actually boil down to choosing between a good career office and a great one. And here at NBS, I would pride ourselves to be having one of the top in class career placements, with more than 90% of our students placed upon graduation each year. And I'd like Leo to maybe share a little bit, his journey at NBS, how he works with the career office, and just share a little bit of tips on, what's the best way to engage with the career office, right? Beyond just looking at them as a placement office. So Leo, if you could share your perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Prof. Ivy. So I would say that the entire process is probably mostly a self-driven one, right? In fair statement, I would say that probably as far as the school will provide the opportunities and the services that goes out to help the students, it is also good for the students to proactively take up the opportunities and services that are available out there. So in my particular case, at the point in time when I was graduating, I was not very, I was aware of the industries that I did not want to get into, let's just put it that way, because of my own experiences, having been around the block for a few years, right? So, but I was not very certain on what specific industries I wanted to get into. So I think this is what they call the where we're still trying to scour the field, right? You're still looking around, navigating your way around the career landscape. And so what really helped me at the point in time was I did engage some services. So I did sign up for some career coaching sessions, which were a great way for me to kickstart my search. So that was good because we did have a sit-down session to run through what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are some of the things like what Derek mentioned earlier that energizes you or that you feel fulfills you and puts you in the zone, and what are your current skill sets that are available that most probably matches that. And if there is a gap, to probably look at what are the plans for you to craft out some plans, right, that you can choose to close the gap. For example, either through online learning, it wasn't as mature, I would say, as compared to now, back when I was still a student, but definitely there were options that were available there, right? So that is one. The other thing I would say is also the resources that are available online. So there are career portals that are available. So I was part of the Nanyang Waseda program. So when I was in Singapore, I leveraged on the Nanyang portal. And then in Waseda, I leveraged on the portal that was available in the Waseda University. So those actually were great resources for me to take a look at what are the trends, right? For example, what are the positions that the companies are putting up? I can take a look at the JDs because they are usually available. And if I have any questions, usually I can reach out to the office and then just maybe schedule some time to find out a little bit more about the positions that are available. And if maybe there might be more insights in what the companies are looking out for so that I can also position myself if I choose to go for the positions. So I guess those are the few things that I did leverage on when I was a student. Of course, I think the services probably might have matured and evolved since then. They've brought very more seasoned professionals on board, like for example, Ronnie, as career coaches. So I believe there are much more services that are available now that the students can leverage on as well.
Thank you, Leo, for singing such high praises of our office. I remember Leo from his MBA days. He definitely, the moment I saw him, he came across as a very, very confident young man, but also a self-starter. And he really took charge of his career, right? So I'm very happy to see that you've progressed so much since the first day I saw you. So congratulations. So you did mention the career coaching that you had also sought out, and indeed, Ronnie is one of our career coaches, and we've been working with industry very, very closely since your days at NBS. So we do have a whole cadre of very senior industry leaders as a career coach, and Ronnie is one of them, right? So maybe Ronnie, from your perspective, since you have worked across a number of years and with many students, do you see the qualities that industry is looking for, in our students, and basically, do they have what it takes to be tech leaders?
Thanks, Prof. Ivy, for the questions. You asked about the quality of the students, and you asked about do they have what it takes to be the tech leader? So let me sort of break up my response in two parts. For the first part, two words came to mind. Two words. One is rigorous. Two is humility. Now let's talk about rigorous. In fact, I'm very impressed with Nanyang's rigorous selections process that I have not seen students in the last 4 years that get enrolled into the course, right? If Nanyang don't see that they are not just able to benefit from the program, but they must be fully committed. Because I want to call out that this program is not something that you can do easily, because it takes a lot of commitment, because it's highly intensive and it is moving at a fast pace, but it's highly relevant because this is where they want to, for the full-time programs, Nanyang is equally committed to put every candidate and student through that 1 year transformation, right? Because this will serve them well, not just in the immediate job post-graduation, but for the long, long term, which I've seen. So that's rigorous. Humility. So this is where I would say that when it comes to humility, right, you get a sense as to how open the students are in terms of being coached. How open are the students in terms of receiving the feedback that meant to help them as a person, as a professional. So I'm glad to say that very blessed that every of the students that I've worked with and also heard feedback from my peer coach, that students that came through the Nanyang, despite that many of them if not all, has laudable achievements in their career before joining Nanyang. So despite of their achievements, they were humble. They were humble to come in to say, hey, coach, I'm open to really be able to learn about myself, to discover about myself. To be honest, many of them don't know about their strength when we first met, but were able to articulate and then tell the coaches as to how they can play to their strengths, right, when they graduate. So I must say that humility is tremendous. So that humility allowed the coaches to be effectively able to work with the students to ensure that we provide the insight, we provide the advice and the guidance, right, towards the aspirations that they want, whether they are as a personal aspirations or professional aspirations. So without the result is such that I must say that for the full-time students, I would say that a lot of them are able to play to their strength upon graduation to land at a job opportunities that they like and they can be successful, right? Likewise, this program also serves the part-time students who are in the course and also have a job. I've seen many of those part-time students, not just that they have also benefited because they were humble, and through the coaching itself, they were able to also obviously remain employed, but promoted to bigger scope, bigger responsibility. They are able to play up to as a leader and pivoted. Some of them pivoted to a different career path because they discovered, just like Derek, that eureka moment. Hey, this is what I enjoy doing. This is what I'm good at. I can kick ass with that for the long time. This is play, isn't it? So I must say that if you ask, the second part of the question is that, do Nanyang has the graduate of good leaders in the tech industry? I must say yes, because one of the things that we all look out for, especially HR professional, is the humility in that person. How open is the person to receive feedback and to continuously learn and reflect and to do better? Because we believe in this time, nobody can know everything. We are all work in progress. So to answer your question, absolutely, I'm amazed with the quality of the students. And I'm glad that Nanyang focused a lot on the coaching on top of the content and the knowledge. Thanks, Ivy, for asking the question.
Thanks for confirming some of our beliefs as well. And your point about humility in leadership, right? That's very well researched topic, right? Leaders need to be humble, right? Otherwise, they will fall into the whole trap of being too self-focused, which eventually causes individual performance, team performance to all deteriorate. So thanks for bringing up that point. So we spent a bit of time looking at the past and the present. So maybe I'll shift gears a little bit to kind of do a little bit of crystal ball gazing. And I'm going to pose this question to Ronnie. So folks in our audience are probably thinking of an MBA, probably going to graduate in another 18 to 20 months' time. What would the world be like, and how will you pitch to them on joining the tech industry 20 months later?
Yeah, so I paused to gaze at the crystal ball.
Yes, I noticed.
Explain the pause. To be honest, it's an evolving landscape. Tech sector is an evolving landscape. I.e., just to give example from my very personal experience, I joined Grab 6 years ago. It was just a mobility or transport company. Some say a taxi company.
Yeah, I remember the days.
Exactly. Boy, it's like now Grab is a super app, and Grab is not just a company that is unique. There are many companies out there in the tech space that has pivoted, that has evolved, right? From the very business model A to now B, C, D, E. And in this case, Grab has evolved and from mobility to add on financial services, fintech, to add on delivery, not just for food, but also to parcel, and now healthcare, and many more. So to answer the questions as to what will the landscape be like for tech, it will continue to evolve. So what's in it for you if you join tech? The continuous learning and development. Now, if you love to continue to learn and to grow, right, which many of us are, I would say that it's going to be a sector that you should not miss, because in this age of continuous innovations, this is where learning will be table stakes. And if you enjoy learning, you become play to you. Now, looking deeper into the crystal ball, I must say that tech also offered interesting career path and more career path. So let me articulate what happens. I mentioned the landscape continues to evolve. So having said that, you could join a company that today is in financial services, tech financial services. But because technologies evolve, business models are being disrupted. And as such, innovations can take place because of technology prowess. So having said that, right, that then created opportunity for you to join one company that you could potentially have different sectors of industry. Again, grab an example. I joined Grab. It was a transport industry, but 1 year into joining, it went into financial services. Then 3rd year into my joining, it went to delivery. 4th year into joining, it went to healthcare. And this is where I gave you an example, just like Grab. I can now decide that one of this day I'm sick and tired of the transport industry, I can move to financial services. Sick of financial services, I can go into delivery, healthcare. So this is where I offer interesting career path that continue to evolve. So if you're thinking of joining a tech sector, be prepared to continuously learn, continuously upskill, and continuously look out for new opportunities that you can continue to play to your strength. Thank you, Ivy.
Yes, thank you so much. And it is the tech is evolving so fast. Like I had said earlier, I'm just constantly playing catch up, right? So it does present a lot of opportunities as a result, right? So who knows what 18 months can be. I was just being cheeky, but I will continue this line of questioning with Derek, who is by now a veteran and spent a number of years. What's your view of the future? And personally for you, do you still see yourself in the tech sector? If so, in what shape, form, or fashion?
I think it's great, mainly because the practical part of me knows that the tech industry is growing. So you want to be in the industry where, because of its growth, you're also growing, you're also learning, you're also moving places. And it reminds me of advice I had when I was very young. Somebody senior came out to me. I was a generalist. I get to rotate from roles to roles, and I had to choose between 2 portfolios. So the senior came to me and said, try to choose something that is new, it's not done yet. For that, I was a bit puzzled. I said, why? I mean, wouldn't it be good if you have chose something that is more familiar, you have more people to guide you, you also get you get to handle it better.
Mm-hmm.
To that, he mentioned, no, you do this is new. There's nobody who done it before. You are known as a trailblazer, regardless of whether you succeed or fail. But if you choose the other portfolio that's familiar, they tend to have references and they will compare you constantly to the previous guy that done it. So it was all mentioned tongue in cheek, but it really serves a good lesson. I mean, your career is 40 years, 30 years. In the greater scheme of things, it's just a spark. So I think we want that spark to be blazing as well, right? So we want to have fun. We want to move places. We want to have a stem in a lot of things. So I think a tech company usually with the kind of mindset, they are moving places. And I would urge everybody join this trend, not only because of the benefits that you hear in the media, but mainly because your personal growth. You will probably be surprised at some of the things that you can achieve and you can discover about yourself along the way.
Thank you. So I'm going to close off this session, the former Inquisition part of it, with Leo. Share your thoughts on what the future looks like.
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. But yeah, I think and I probably won't reiterate what everything that Ronnie and Derek has already said, right? It's an exciting sector. There is growth potential. There are still a lot of untapped potential out in the market. And, I think quoting a very common phrase that being mentioned right now as well out in the industry, almost every industry is a tech company now, right? It's like every company is probably using technology in a certain part of their either be it operations or goods and services, warehousing, etc., etc. So there is going to be a tech element in all of the companies in this day and age, as well as going forward. So I would say that looking forward, I would probably envision the world to be equally as fast-paced, or if not even more fast-paced, with growing complexity. And the reason why I say that is because things are probably going to only be developing as we, hopefully the situation settles down on COVID, and then we start to get into the hybrid environment that I was talking about earlier. There are going to be new norms. There are going to be new ways that people are working. People are trying to find out how best to utilize the technology that's available out there, in what they are trying to do, right? And so if this is, and because of that, alluding to the points that were made by my fellow speakers earlier, the idea of having to learn and relearn and constantly relearn where change is the only constant is actually very, very relevant. And it's very true in the industry, I would say, as much as it is a cliche to say it, but the reason why it's a cliche, I would say, is because it's true most of the time. So if it is an industry where you are excited to be in an environment that requires you to constantly be tweaking what you think is right, and to be at the forefront of exciting things that are in development, but yet at the same time, having that space and that industry that forces you to constantly be re-looking at your skill sets and be constantly refreshing them at a regular basis, I think this would be probably the place that you can definitely consider.
Yes, if you have the
Stamina.
yeah, exactly. I was really looking for the right word. Is it the love for adventure, the stamina? If you've got it, go for it, right? Very, very heartening. And Leo, you're absolutely right. Tech is touching every single sector, right? There's not a single sector that I can say it's not tech anymore. So yeah, in fact, this is what keeps me out at night as I look at our companies that are looking to hire our talent, right? Increasingly, this whole tech focus is so strong that I'm glad that we are NTU, right? Where technology is part of our DNA. Okay, thank you. So that's I finished the part in terms of questions from me. I do think we have some time for questions from the audience. So let me just quickly go through what are some of the questions. Okay, so there's a question from Carolyn Cheong to Ronnie. Okay, and she says there is increasing highlight in tech industry to have quota for diversity. And we did talk about that, right? Diversity hiring, particularly around women leaders, people of color, people of disabilities, etc. Do you see any sacrifice being made in the merit category to conform to this, whether within Grab or within the industry as a whole? Ronnie, please.
Hey, Catherine, that is a very good question, I must say, that touches on diversity versus merit. Now, this is my view. Now, first of all, companies actually have diversity program or hire for diversity. Not so much about because it's a program that they have to be able to do, but more is that there are business outcomes that tie to diversity hirings and diversity program. Let me expound on that. Companies that get into diversity hiring is because they wanted to have a pool of talent and leaders working in the companies that produces the goods and services that serve the consumer who are equally diverse. So in other words, is that if you have a company that is based in Singapore, as where we are today, and yet you are serving a global market that is outside of Singapore. Let's use Europe as one example, right? Now, in this case, right, for many of us who have traveled into Europe, we know that the norms are different, the needs are different, and as such, right, this is where you want to ensure that the employee that you have in the companies that is, though based in Singapore, producing the goods and services that is serving outside of Singapore, like Europe, is able to represent the needs. So this is where diversity comes into play. And as such, right, I must say that there are also studies out there that show that a diverse leadership pool, that representative of their consumer base, brings actually better business results. Okay, so this diversity, I'm not referring to either specific to certain gender or specific to certain color or nationality. I'm talking about what will be a diverse representations of our consumer that we are serving. So this is my view. Diversity, in fact, will help in the business result, and often than not, right, it gives a better results to what the companies were trying to achieve. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you, Ronnie. There's one more question here, and it's open to anyone of you. And the question is as follows. You have talked extensively about the tech sector and how to leverage our skills and experiences to pivot into the industry. What would you say to an MBA student wanting to start his or her own tech firm? That's one part of the question. The second part is, do you see a lot of potential in Singapore and Asia on the whole? Anyone?
Maybe I can help to shed some light. So I'm part of the Google Angel Investor Network. So we get pitches and we look at how we can help people with startups. So I think Singapore is an excellent base. But ultimately, the question has to be answered through how good your idea or how good your business is. But as Singapore as a consumer market, it's not big, but it's an excellent platform, mainly because of access to venture capitalists, angel investor, or even mentorship. There are a lot of people who have been there, done that, that's ready to lend a hand, and also access to talent pool. Just like the group of MBA students that we have in the school, they may be ready to be tapped upon. They may find the startup proposition very exciting. So I think Singapore is really a good place to start your own tech firm. Your idea as well as your product will actually determine whether you're able to capture the market beyond Singapore. And scale is important for tech firm. You really want to hit those levels whereby economies of scale, that kind of scale where you can really stabilize the ship. So that will be a question for the idea that you have. I hope that information sharing is useful. Thanks.
Thank you. We have time for just one last question, and it's for Leo. So share a little bit about how big tech companies like Microsoft compete for talent in a very fast evolving tech landscape where you have so many disruptors.
This is a really good question. Well, I would say, and I would always fall back to the principles that the organization is built on, right? And if I may, I would also like to quote our CEO famously saying that, don't join Microsoft if you want to be cool. Join Microsoft if you want to make other people cool, right? And a lot of the times, people feel like, these tech companies are really paying lip service to what they say, right? It's just like, oh, you're just saying it because you're saying it. But I can tell you for a fact that being in the company for almost three years, living the culture, the company really does live the culture, and the leadership team really walks the talk. So I would say that the company, yes, it is a competitive market, and yes, there is a constant fight for talent. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about what the company stands for and also how do we make sure that we are attracting the right people for the right job, right? And ensuring that we have the necessary levers as well as resources that are made available to us in order to do that. So I guess there's no simple answer to it, but I hope that answers the question, at least based on the observations that I've seen within the company.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of our panel discussion. I would like to thank our three honorable alumni for joining us in this discussion. I personally learned a lot, and I hope you in the audience would have benefited as well. So thank you, Derek. Thank you, Leo, and thank you, Ronnie. On that note, may I just pass the floor back to Shireen.
Thank you so much, Ivy, and to our panelists as well. It certainly sounds like, the tech industry is a very dynamic one to be in. And I think some of the buzzwords we have heard today, are exciting developments, fast-paced and constantly upskilling yourselves. And definitely it's an industry that, challenges you beyond your limits. So if you have the stamina, consider the tech industry. And I thought it was also interesting to note that, this industry seems to be at the forefront of including diversity in their talent pool. And this is such an important component of sustainability. And it's very heartwarming to see that, because sustainability is something that NTU and NBS are so passionate about. So it's a great industry to be in. Thank you so much for being here today, Derek, Leo, and Ronnie, for sharing your insights with us. And to all of you out there, thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. Stay connected with us through these channels, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all about our postgraduate programs or career aspirations. Thank you.